Good morning. Ooh, let's see. It's kind of like a overcast, rainy day, but I just want to welcome you if you're a first time, video watcher to the Black Opinionated Woman, also known as a Bo. I can't even talk today, channel. And I was just gonna just chit chat for a second, because I had a little bit of time, but I'm gonna come off camera for a little bit, because one. Um, Yeah, I don't need to know everything about where I am. Let's see. Okay. And I'll come back on in a little bit. All right. So look, I know I don't come on as often because either one, I'm too tired, two, I'm busy, or three, I don't really have anything to say. But I have something to say today. It's not well formed. This is just off the cuff. So I was on a TikTok. TikTok. I can't talk today. I was on a TikTok. And there's apparently this, I don't know how this conversation got started, but there's this whole conversation centered around why Black men are not going to college, to school. And okay, I must admit, I don't watch many of these videos all the way through. I might give it 5 to 10 seconds because oftentimes there's a lot of excuses. And then there's a lot of accountability too. And I'm going to give you my thoughts on this. You didn't ask for them, but I'm providing them anyway. That's why they're called thoughts, right? These are the Black opinionated woman thoughts. Let me just say this. I understand there was a period of time when we had to deal with like the crack cocaine epidemic. I do understand when, former President Clinton, was really pushing for harsher sentences, and he put a whole lot of men in jail, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I understand that. I understand there are systemic things in place, but let me just say this, and this is just going to make people mad. Black girls and black boys grew up in these same homes, same conditions. And what I am finding is that we continuously want to coddle our men. These are boys that really haven't even grown into manhood, right? Like they're physically there, but they're not men. And they want people to feel sorry for them all the time. Because so this is the thing, you can recognize that there were some circumstances that have been put in the path. But there's nothing stopping people today from getting educated. You can go online and go at your own pace, even if it's one class a year. Because see, people do what they want to do. And now I'm going to say this again. My mother always told me that people will do what they want to do. So, where I'm going with this is it is hard for me to listen to such conversations because I feel like even when presented with opportunity, we're not taking it. And like what I always tell my kids, like, look, you can achieve many things and you may have roadblocks in front of you and you may have to work twice as hard just to get half as much, but it doesn't mean you can't get it, right? And sometimes you're going to face adversity and it's not going to be fair. It's not going to be just. And you're going to have to get past this mentality that, like, well, it's not fair that they don't have to do X. I'm like, you're absolutely right, but these are the cards that have been dealt to you. So you either choose to overcome or to succumb to whatever the scenario is, right? And so when I listen to these men get out here on these platforms, it is just so embarrassing because I'm like, why is it that they're the only ones in the free world that can't get stuff done? But and then it's like they compare themselves to black women all the time, and I'm like, it's just so weird. It's like, why are you in competition with the women in your community? We want you to be better. We want you to be better. We want you to be better. We want you to have that internal confidence and self esteem instead of seeking proximity. to something else instead of looking for someone to pick you up, right? Like, this is the hand that you're dealt with. You're going to have to start learning how to pick yourself up. And it's not that we can't support, but it's hard to support somebody who's not trying, right? Like, I tell my kids all the time, like, people help people who are trying to help themselves, right? When you're trying, people want to like help you along. Like, if you're not trying to do better in school, and people don't go out of their way to help you either. But if you're studying and you're struggling, then people will try to help you get that knowledge. So I guess what I'm saying is, like, it is hard for me to sit there and see a group of men continuously trying to fall back onto being coddled. Because at the end of the day, the opportunities are there, and I feel like men who look like me may have to take extra steps. They may face some adversity, but it doesn't mean they can't achieve. And yes, it's probably going to be unfair. It's not going to be just on how they arrive, but there is a pathway. And then when you arrive, each one teach one, right? You make it better for the person behind you. But instead, our community doesn't like to do that. When we arrive, we try to be the only one, because it took, like I see this a lot. Like, when you arrive someplace, then it's kind of like, well, I worked so hard to get here, you need to figure it out for yourself. They want to be the only one. They want to be tokenized and idolized. So anyway, when I'm listening to these men are like, oh, they took us out, and I'm like, shut up. What does that got to do with today? What does that have to do with yourself today? Why? Look, you can find money to purchase these Xboxes instead of purchasing your first class. You can find time to master these games, but you can't find time to crack open a book. I'm not buying it. And so when we say that we know that there were things that have taken place in the community, yes, but like, what does that have to do with today? Right? Like, what to do with you achieving today? There's always an excuse, and then what happens is when we call it out, it makes it seem like, oh, you're just one of those other people. I'm like, that's not true. I'm like, at what point do we stop making excuses, right? Because, like, we know what the situation is. So when do we want more for ourselves? We voluntarily go out and make bad music. We voluntarily invest our time in mastering, I don't know, NBA 2K or Madden or whatever game, but we don't put time into figuring out, how did they make this game? How did they come up with these graphics? Like, what was the story? Like understanding how to tell stories, because these games, a lot of these games are stories, right? So storytellers may or may not have been good in English. I don't know. But we don't write enough books. We don't read enough books. We don't study enough. Let me see if I can come back on camera. Hi there. So I just get to the point where I'm like, I don't want to hear it. And let me tell you something. If the men are doing better than us, bravo. We want that. I know I do. I'm like, you get it. So then I don't have to. Go get it. There's a reason why men are typically deemed to be more aggressive. Women become aggressive when forced to be, but they don't. If they don't have to be, then they won't be aggressive. It's really that simple. I know it is for me. Trust. The more aggressive you want to be and the more you want to achieve, the less I have to worry. I mean, that's just where I'm at with it. Okay? The more you do what you're supposed to do, the more I don't have to. Anyway, so these people were out there on the internet, on social media, going on, and I just kind of feel like, at what point do we say, or do we have some sort of grassroots movement for the men to become educated? We already know so many of them are like so buck broken, and they don't even like themselves, so they're trying to seek proximity elsewhere. They're looking for validation elsewhere, right? I can't help with that. All I can say is, go do better. If you're concerned about women and they're wanting you for money and you think that it's making you less competitive, then go make more money. If you're concerned about your physique or something, do something about it. Get healthier. put in the work. If you're concerned about, you know, meeting somebody, and I know I talked about this in another video about men who are way too obsessed with women and OnlyFans or something like that. But if you want to meet a wholesome woman and extend your legacy, well, then be intentional about the kind of women that you're approaching. I remember I was talking with an old tennis buddy of mine, and I was telling him how, like, my husband's pride and joy, besides me, of course, is our children. Our children are a source of pride and joy. And like, I look at some of these guys and their pride and joy is in their car, and my husband's pride and joy is in making sure our kids are good and that they have opportunities and that he coaches them and all these things, right? He puts a lot of time and energy into coaching other kids. Sometimes he's the counselor. Sometimes do you understand, the confidant, all that stuff. And where I'm going with it is, his pride and joy is not in, like, my husband does not know how to play a single game other than the fake little weird, it's not even Tetris, so I don't know I forgot what it is. Word screen? No, it's not Word. What is it? I have it on my phone. I don't even play the game, but he does this one little game on his phone. That's all he's got. I'm like, you have the mind of a child. He's like, leave me alone. I'm doing me, right? So I'm just at the point where I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I just don't want to hear from people like, oh, well, black men were taken out of the home. But what's stopping you today? I've been telling my kids, and I tell all the people who tell us to go get these trades. This is my answer. I don't think there's anything wrong with the trade, but I always say, they're like, oh, people making trades they can start their own business. I'm like, the average person who's trained in the trade does not start their own business. So stop it. That's number one. Number two, I look at what the wealthy people are doing. They're not sending their kids to trade schools. They're sending their kids to college. I told my son last night, I'm like, let me tell you something. They can always take away your job. They can't take away your education. They can't take away the knowledge. And I'm like, you can actually get a trade. Now, look, I might be going through a bad area for a second. It might start pixelating. Don't get mad at me. It'll clear up, shortly. But don't get mad at me. But I told my son, I said, look, you can get a trade if you want to. I don't care. I still think you need to get an education. It goes so far. Because a lot of these trades, oftentimes, they get replaced by, robotics or machine learning that can do certain jobs. You want to know how to train the machines that's doing it, or operate. Like, you want to be able to do that. You want, like, people, we actually need more English majors now, because we got to train all these language models for all the new chat GPTs and stuff coming out. There's so much going on in technology. We need to be the ones training the things to do that, right? We need to know how to create those things. We need to be educated. Remember before, in other conversations I've had, I said you want to understand systems. You have economic systems, social systems, medical systems, computer systems, right? And it's all related. Environmental systems. I tell people, you want to go to college and just be aware of the other opportunities, the other so-called systems that are out there. That's what you want. You don't want to be the person who has not exposed himself. You don't want to be the person who has not traveled around the world if given the opportunity. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Okay, those are my thoughts. I don't want to sound harsh, but that's not even the word I want to use. I don't want people to think that I'm not recognizing that there were some things that have happened in our past, right? But I'm like, at what point do we move forward? We have to move forward. All right, so look, I think I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to belabor the conversation too long, but I think you guys need to go ahead and subscribe to my channel. How about that? Subscribe to my channel, because I'm amazing in every way and practically do no wrong. It is like literally overcast. Like, Oh my gosh. And it's a late morning for me. It's right now it's like 7:26 and it looks like da 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 outside, you know. But anyway, that's about it. And let me tell you, this moisture out here is not good for the hair. Now, luckily, I have a pretty good blowout here, but in the summer, this won't last. I'll probably be braided or be walking around in my natural self. But all right, that's all I've got. Have a good one. Bye.